In the village of Ogidi, there lived a young woman named Adaobi. Adaobi was known throughout the village for two things: her beautiful dancing and her large size. She was bigger than most girls her age, and the villagers often teased her because of it. They would call her names and laugh at her, making her feel sad and alone. Despite the teasing, Adaobi loved to dance. When she danced, she felt free and happy as if nothing else mattered. But because of the villagers' cruel words, she was too embarrassed to dance in public. Instead, she danced in secret, in the privacy of her home, where no one could see her. Whenever there was a festival or a party in Ogidi, Adaobi would hide. She would dress up in clothes that covered her face and body so that no one would recognize her. Then she would sneak into the festivities, enjoying the music and dancing from afar. One sunny afternoon, Ogidi was bustling with excitement. The annual Yam Festival was just around the corner, and everyone was busy preparing. Adaobi too was excited but also nervous. She loved the Yam Festival because of the vibrant music and dancing, but she dreaded the mocking looks and hurtful comments from the villagers. Meanwhile, in a distant village, a young prince named Obinna was preparing for a journey. Obinna loved to explore new places and learn about different cultures. He was also a talented drummer, known for his skillful beats that could make anyone dance. One day, Obinna heard about the Yam Festival in Ogidi and decided to visit. He wanted to experience the festival's famous music and dance. As he traveled to Ogidi, he carried his drum with him, eager to join in the festivities. When Obinna arrived in Ogidi, he was welcomed with open arms. The villagers were excited to have a guest, especially one as talented as Obinna. They invited him to perform at the festival, and he happily agreed. The day of the Yam Festival arrived, and Ogidi was filled with joy and anticipation. The villagers gathered in the village square, where musicians played lively tunes and dancers twirled and leapt with grace. Adaobi watched from the shadows, her heart aching to join in, but her mind filled with fear of being mocked. She wore a long cloak and a veil to hide her identity, blending into the crowd as best she could. When Obinna began to play his drum, a magical energy filled the air. His beats were so powerful and enchanting that even the shyest villagers couldn't resist dancing. Adaobi felt the music deep in her soul. She tried to resist, but her feet started tapping, and soon she was dancing with all her heart. As Adaobi danced, she felt more alive than ever before. She moved with grace and passion, her body flowing with the rhythm of Obinna's drum. The villagers watched in amazement, their mocking laughter replaced with awe and admiration. Obinna noticed Adaobi too. Her dancing was like nothing he had ever seen, and he couldn't take his eyes off her. He played his drum even harder, wanting to see more of her incredible moves. Adaobi felt Obinna's eyes on her and suddenly became self-conscious. She stopped dancing and started to run away, her cloak billowing behind her. But Obinna wasn't going to let her go that easily. He chased after her, calling out for her to stop. "Adaobi, wait!" he shouted. "Please don't run away." Adaobi finally stopped running, her heart pounding in her chest. She turned to face Obinna, tears streaming down her face. "Why did you follow me?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Because you're an amazing dancer," Obinna replied. "I've never seen anyone dance like you. Why do you hide?" Adaobi wiped her tears and sighed. "The villagers mock me because of my size. I'm afraid to dance in front of them." Obinna looked at her with kindness and understanding. "You shouldn't be afraid, Adaobi. You are beautiful just the way you are, and your dancing is a gift. Don't let anyone take that away from you." Hearing Obinna's words, Adaobi felt a warmth in her heart. No one had ever spoken to her like that before. She smiled through her tears and thanked him. As they walked back to the village, Obinna and Adaobi talked and laughed, getting to know each other better. Adaobi learned that Obinna was not just a talented drummer, but also a prince from a neighboring village. He had come to Ogidi to experience their culture and share his music. "I never expected to find such a wonderful dancer in Ogidi," Obina said with a smile. "You have made this festival unforgettable for me." Adaobi blushed at his compliment. "Thank you, Obina. You have made it unforgettable for me too." The two of them spent the rest of the festival together, dancing and enjoying the festivities. Years passed, and Adaobi and Obina's village thrived under their rule. They had 3 children, each blessed with their own unique talents. Their eldest, Chidi, was a gifted drummer like his father. Their daughter, Amara, had inherited her mother's grace and love for dance. Their youngest, Uche, had a talent for storytelling, weaving tales that enchanted everyone who listened. One day, a messenger arrived from a distant kingdom. The kingdom of Umuofia was hosting a grand festival to celebrate the unity of all neighboring villages. They invited Adaobi and Obina, hoping they would share their music and dance. The family was excited about the invitation. They prepared for the journey, packing their instruments and costumes. Adaobi felt a mix of excitement and nerves. It had been years since she danced in a new place. But with her family by her side, she knew she could face anything. The journey to Umuofia was long and challenging. They traveled through dense forests, crossed rivers, and climbed hills. Along the way, they met many people who had heard of the dancing princess and her family. Everywhere they went, they were greeted with warmth and admiration. One evening, as they set up camp by a river, Chidi began to play his drum. Amara started to dance, and Uche told stories by the fire. Villagers from nearby gathered to watch, enchanted by the family's talents. Adaobi smiled as she watched her children. She remembered her own journey and felt proud of how far they had come. Obina put his arm around her and they enjoyed the evening together, surrounded by music and laughter. When they finally arrived in Umuofia, they were amazed by the grandeur of the festival. Colorful decorations adorned the streets, and the air was filled with the sounds of music and laughter. People from all over had come to celebrate, each bringing their own unique traditions. Adaobi and her family were welcomed with great honor. The king of Umuofia, King Asa, personally greeted them and thanked them for coming. "We are honored to have you here," King Asa said. "We have heard much about your talents and the kindness you have shown your people." The family was given a special place to stay, and they spent the next few days exploring the festival. They watched performances, tasted new foods, and made many new friends. Chidi found other drummers to play with, and Amara joined a group of dancers. Uche shared his stories with anyone who would listen, captivating audiences with his words. As the main event of the festival approached, Adaobi felt a mix of excitement and nerves. She would be performing in front of a large audience, and she wanted to make sure her family's performance was perfect. On the day of the main event, the village square was filled with people. The stage was set, and performers from all the neighboring villages were ready to showcase their talents. Adaobi, Obina, and their children took their places, ready to share their music and dance. When it was their turn, Chidi started with a powerful drum beat, followed by Obina. Amara and Adaobi danced gracefully, their movements perfectly in sync. Uche narrated a story, his voice carrying over the music, weaving a tale of love and courage. The audience watched in awe, captivated by the family's performance. Adaobi felt the same joy and freedom she always did when she danced, but this time it was even more special, surrounded by her family and new friends. Just as their performance was reaching its climax, dark clouds began to gather in the sky. A sudden storm rolled in, and heavy rain began to fall. The audience scattered, seeking shelter from the downpour. Adaobi and her family rushed to protect their instruments and costumes. King Asa approached them, his face filled with concern. "I'm sorry the storm has interrupted your performance," he said, "but your family's talent and spirit have already left a lasting impression on everyone." Adaobi and Obina reassured him that they understood. "Nature is unpredictable," Obina said, "but we are grateful for the opportunity to share our gifts with your people." The storm raged on through the night, but the next morning, The sky was clear and bright. The festival resumed, and the people of Umuofia were eager to continue celebrating. King Ease announced that there would be a special performance to make up for the previous day's interruption. Adaobi and her family were invited to perform again, this time in the grand hall of the king's palace. The hall was filled with people, all excited to see the family's talents once more. This time, their performance was even more magical. The music and dance flowed seamlessly, and Ucha's storytelling added a new layer of enchantment. The audience was mesmerized, and when they finished, the hall erupted in applause. King Isa stood and addressed the crowd. "We have witnessed something truly special," he said. "The unity and talent of this family have brought us all closer together. Let us continue to celebrate our differences and find strength in our unity." After the festival, Adaobi and her family returned to their village with full hearts and new friends. They had shared their gifts and learned much from others. The experience had brought them even closer together. Back in their village, they were greeted with joy and celebration. The villagers, who once mocked Adaobi, now admired her and her family's talents. They had learned the importance of kindness and acceptance, and the village of Ogidi was more united than ever. Adaobi continued to dance, now with her family by her side. They performed at festivals and events, spreading joy and inspiring others to embrace their true selves. Obina and Adaobi's love grew stronger with each passing day, and their children thrived in their supportive and loving home. As the years went by, Adaobi and Obina's family continued to grow. Their children married and had families of their own, each passing down the lessons of love and acceptance they had learned. The village of Ogidi flourished, known far and wide for its kindness and unity. Adaobi often reflected on her journey, from the shy girl who hid her talents to the confident princess who danced with all her heart. She knew that her story was just one of many, and she hoped that it would inspire others to follow their dreams and embrace who they truly were. And so, the story of Adaobi, the dancing princess, became a cherished legend. It was a tale that reminded everyone of the power of love, courage, and the beauty of being true to oneself. As Adaobi and Obina watched their grandchildren dance and play, they knew that their legacy would live on. They had faced many challenges, but their love and determination had carried them through. And they knew that as long as there were hearts filled with love and courage, the story of the dancing princess would never truly end. As the years passed, Adaobi and Obina's grandchildren grew up hearing the stories of their grandparents' adventures. The tales of Adaobi's transformation and the family's love and unity became a source of inspiration for the younger generation. Among the grandchildren was a young girl named Nkem. Nkem was curious, brave, and had inherited her grandmother's love for dance. She would often sneak into her grandparents' room and ask Adaobi to tell her the story of how she became a princess. "Grandma, tell me again how you danced at the festival," Nkem would say, her eyes wide with wonder. Adaobi would smile and begin the story, her voice filled with warmth and nostalgia. Nkem listened intently, her heart filled with admiration and a desire to create her own story one day. One day, a rumor spread through the village of Ogidi about a mysterious drummer who had been seen traveling through neighboring villages. His music was said to be so enchanting that it could make even the most reluctant dancer move with joy. Nkem was intrigued by the stories and begged her parents to let her see the mysterious drummer. After much pleading, they agreed to take her to the next village where the drummer was supposed to perform. When they arrived, they found a large crowd gathered around a stage. The air was filled with excitement and anticipation. Nkem pushed her way to the front, eager to catch a glimpse of the drummer. As the performance began, Nkem was mesmerized by the drummer's skill. His beats were powerful and captivating, filling the air with a magical energy. Nkem felt her feet start to move, and soon she was dancing with all her heart, just like her grandmother had done years before. After the performance, Nkem couldn't stop thinking about the drummer. She felt a strange connection to him and wanted to learn more about his music. With her parents' permission, She approached him after the show. "Hello," Nkem said shyly. "Your music is amazing. I've never heard anything like it." The drummer, a young man named Chima, smiled warmly. "Thank you. I love to see people dance to my music. What is your name?" "Nkem," she replied. "My grandmother is Adaobi, the dancing princess of Ogidi. She taught me to dance." Chima's eyes widened in surprise. "Adaobi? I've heard many stories about her. It is an honor to meet her granddaughter." Nkem felt a thrill of excitement. "Would you come to Ogidi and meet my family? I know they would love to hear your music." Chima agreed, and together they traveled back to Ogidi. When they arrived, Adaobi and Obina welcomed Chima with open arms. They were delighted to meet the young drummer and hear his music. Chima's visit brought new energy to the village of Ogidi. He and Nkem became fast friends, spending hours practicing music and dance together. The villagers were enchanted by their performances and often gathered to watch. One evening, as they sat around a fire, Chima shared a story with Nkem and her family. He spoke of a distant village that was in need of help. The village was struggling and the people had lost their spirit and joy. Chima believed that through music and dance, they could bring hope and happiness back to the village. Nkem was deeply moved by the story and felt a strong desire to help. She turned to her grandparents and said, "Grandma, Grandpa, can we go to this village and help them? I want to make a difference, just like you did." Adaobi and Obina exchanged a glance and smiled. They saw the same determination and courage in Nkem that had once driven them to follow their dreams. "We will go," Adaobi said. "Together, we will bring hope to this village." With the support of her family and Chima by her side, Nkem set out on her new adventure. The journey was long and filled with challenges, but Nkem's heart was filled with determination and hope. As they traveled, they encountered many people who were inspired by their mission. They shared their music and dance, spreading joy wherever they went. Nkem felt a deep sense of fulfillment, knowing that they were making a difference. When they finally arrived at the village, they were greeted by somber faces and weary hearts. The villagers were skeptical at first, unsure if music and dance could truly bring about change. But Nkem and Chima were undeterred. They set up a stage in the village square and began to perform. Chima's drumming filled the air with a powerful energy, and Nkem's dancing brought a spark of light to the village. Slowly, the villagers began to gather, curiosity replacing their skepticism. As the days went by, more and more villagers joined in the performances. They started to dance, laugh, and share their own stories. The village, which had once been filled with despair, began to come alive with music and joy. Nkem and Chima's efforts were not in vain. They saw the transformation in the villagers' faces and felt a deep sense of pride and accomplishment. The village elder approached them one evening, his eyes filled with gratitude. "You have brought life back to our village," he said. "Your music and dance have healed our hearts. We will forever be grateful." Nkem felt tears of joy in her eyes. She realized that her journey was not just about following in her grandmother's footsteps, but about creating her own path and making a difference in the world. After several months in the village, Nkem and Chima knew it was time to return to Ogidi. The villagers, now filled with hope and happiness, bid them a heartfelt farewell. Nkem and Chima's adventures brought them widespread recognition. The stories of their efforts to bring joy and unity through music and dance spread far and wide, reaching even the most distant villages. Invitations to perform and share their talents poured in, offering new horizons for their mission of spreading happiness. One day, a messenger arrived in Ogidi with an invitation from the Kingdom of Nri, known for its rich cultural heritage and grand celebrations. The King of Nri had heard of Nkem and Chima's talents and invited them to perform at the annual harvest festival. Nkem and Chima were excited about the opportunity to share their gifts with the people of Nri. They prepared for the journey with great enthusiasm, knowing that this was another chance to make a difference and continue the legacy of the dancing princess. The journey to Nuri was long and challenging, but Nkem and Chima were used to overcoming obstacles. They traveled through dense forests, crossed wide rivers and climbed steep hills. Along the way, they encountered many people who welcomed them with open arms, eager to hear their music and see their dances. When they finally arrived in Nuri, they were amazed by the beauty and grandeur of the kingdom. The streets were lined with colorful banners, and the air was filled with the sounds of music and laughter. The harvest festival was in full swing, and the people of Enri were eager to see the famous performers from Ogidi. King Ikena of Enri greeted them warmly. "Welcome to our kingdom," he said. "We have heard much about your talents and the joy you bring to others. We are honored to have you here." Nkem and Chima were given a special place to stay, and they spent the next few days exploring the kingdom and preparing for their performance. They were inspired by the rich cultural heritage of Enri and the warmth of its people. The day of the grand performance arrived, and the village square was filled with people. The stage was set, and the air was buzzing with excitement. Nkem and Chima felt a mix of nerves and anticipation, knowing that this was their chance to make a lasting impression. Chima started with a powerful drumbeat, his hands moving with precision and skill. Nkem joined in with her graceful dance, her movements perfectly synchronized with the rhythm of the drums. The audience watched in awe, captivated by the beauty and energy of their performance. As they danced and played, Nkem felt a deep connection to the people of Enri. She saw the smiles on their faces and felt their joy. It reminded her of her own journey and the power of music and dance to bring people together. The performance reached its climax, and the audience erupted in applause. King Ikena stood and addressed the crowd. "We have witnessed something truly special today," he said. "Nkem and Chima have brought joy and unity to our kingdom. Let us continue to celebrate our differences and find strength in our unity." After the festival, Nkem and Chima were invited to the king's palace for a special dinner. King Ikena praised their talents and expressed his gratitude for their visit. During the dinner, he shared a story that touched Nkem deeply. "Our kingdom has faced many challenges," King Ikena said. "There is a village on the outskirts of Enri that has been struggling. The people there have lost their spirit and hope. I believe that your music and dance can help them find joy again." Nkem and Chima looked at each other and knew that they had found their next mission. They agreed to visit the village and do everything they could to bring hope and happiness back to the people. The next day, Nkem and Chima set out for the village on the outskirts of Nri. The journey was difficult, but they were determined to help. When they arrived, they were greeted by somber faces and a sense of despair. The village had been through hard times, and the people had lost their spirit. Nkem and Chima set